Hello everyone, my name is Ritesh Khole and our today's topic is Introduction to Neuron or Nerve Cell. So, a neuron, it's also known as a nerve cell, is an electrically excitable cell that processes and transmits the information by electrical and chemical signaling. You might be studied about this in your biology or in basic sciences under biology that these are present in our brain and they usually transmit the process the information whichever our body or other cells transmit to it. So neurons are the core components of nervous system, which includes the brain, spinal cord, and peripheral ganglia. So, human brain comprises tens of billions of neurons, and each linked to thousands of other neurons via the chemical channels known as synapse. So, at birth, the human cell consists of an estimated about 100 billion neurons. And unlike other cells, neurons don't reproduce or regenerate, they aren't replaced. So once they die. And let's see a neuron, how a neuron is. So neuron structure. So it basically have a cell body, axon, and dendrites. So the cell body, it also known as soma, we can see here in this image as shown, this is the cell body. So the cell body is the neuron's core, which carries genetic information, maintains the neuron structure, and provides energy to drive activities like sending and receiving the electrical signals and processing those signals. Like other cell bodies, a neuron's soma contains a nucleus and the specialized organelles. So we can see here the nucleus organelles are not shown in here, but they are present around it. So this is a nucleus and organelles are present around that. So it's enclosed by a membrane which both protects it and allows it to interact with its immediate surroundings, like immediate around them. So the size of neural somas range widely from 0.005 mm to 0.1 mm in mammals. And then we have axon. So the axon is a long tail-like structure which joins the cell body at specialized junctions called axial halo. So we can see here in this diagram this long internal chain or a pipe-like structure we can see here that is known as axon. This is connected here and here as well. So they usually helps in transmitting. Axons are long slender projection of a nerve cell that conduct electrical impulses away from the neuron cell body or soma. Axon contains a fatty substance known as myelin, which helps axon to conduct electrical signals. That was not present in it, so it might not be, or it might not conduct those electrical signals and might not be able to communicate with other parts of the body. Then we have dendrites. So dendrites are fibrous roots as the branch out the cell body. So here we can see these are small projection coming out from the cell body are known as dendrites. So what is the purpose of this? So they effectively increases the surface area of neuron to increase its ability to communicate with other neurons. Then dendrites receive and process signals from the axons of other neurons, and neurons can have more than one set of dendrites known as dendrite trees, like this. Okay, so these are some of the main parts in a neuron. Then we have nerve end as well, but it's okay. Now, neuron types. So we can classify neurons in three broad types as follows. So we have sensory neurons. They are also called as afferent neuron, or by its name we can guess that what it might be. Sensory. So it would be sensing something or something, any change, sensing some change in its surrounding. So sensory neurons are triggered by physical and chemical inputs from your environment, like sound, touch, heat, light, and physical inputs like that. So smell and taste are chemical inputs. Example, now stepping on a hot sand activates sensory neurons on the sole of your feet. So now, considering this example, we say that when the hot sand activates the sensory neurons in the sole of your feet, they transmits a signal to your brain and saying that the surface is hot, and then consider it sends the message to brain to consider its heatness, its hotness, and decide whether to stay on it or retract your leg from there. So these are basically sensory neurons sending some signal regarding some change in its environment. Now we have motor neurons. So these are also called as efferent neurons. That was afferent, and this is efferent. So the motor neurons play a role in movement, and including voluntary and involuntary movements. So these neurons allow the brain and spinal cord to communicate with muscles, organ, and glands overall the body. So now here we can see voluntary and involuntary movements. So these are some examples, or we can say there are classified. The movements of us or human body is classified. Like voluntary means we are supposed to do that, or we are willing to do that. For example, if this is my hand, then I'm willing to move this finger down. So this is voluntary movement, that I want it to stay up right now, it will stay as it is. So these, my brain decides what I want to do with it. And what are involuntary movements is like we cannot have control over that, which is like our heart beats or our stomach processes the food, and those things which are not in our hand, but those are supposed to be done or continue simultaneously at any moment. So these controls those, and these are two type of motor neurons, lower and upper. So lower motor neurons carry signals from the spinal cord to the smooth muscle and the skeletal muscles, like those muscles connect to our skeletal or bones. Then upper motor neurons carry signals between your brain and spinal cord. This is important, that upper motor and lower motors. Now, interneuron. So, interneurons are neural intermediates found in your brain and spinal cord. So, they are the most common type of neuron. They pass signals from the sensory neurons and other interneurons to motor neurons and to the other interneurons. So, it basically are the intermediate, what we can say, we can consider it as wires that transmit the signals and pass through them. So these are basically that. Now, often they form a complex circuit that help you to react to external stimuli. Example, when you touch something hot, sensory neurons in your fingertips send a signal to interneurons in your spinal cord, and then the signal continues towards the brain, and then brain decides whether to put the finger over there or to retrieve back. Now, neuron communication. So, neurons are the information or the signal relay system of our nervous system, central nervous system, we can say. Then, once simulated, neurons need to conduct information in two ways. First, from one end of neuron to the other end, and it's accomplished electrically via action potential generation. So this is occurred when two neurons are connected via a gap junction. This gap is much smaller than a synapse and includes ion channels which facilitate the direct transmission of a positive electrical signal. And second is across the minute space of separating one neuron from another neuron, or we can say muscle end plate, which is synaptic cleft. and it is accomplished chemically via neurotransmitters. So, when an action potential is generated, it's carried along the axon to a presynaptic ending, and this triggers the release of chemical messengers known as neurotransmitter. So, we have seen what are axon and synaptic ending. You can see here axons, okay, and here they are motor neuron, then interneuron and sensory neuron are shown how they actually looks like. And this is the diagram which when it transmits everything, or here's a synopsis, and then this is a receiving neuron, this is the action of transmitting neuron, etc. So these receives and then processes over here and forwards it. And we have here chemical synapses as mentioned over here. Then we have synapses ventricle. We are not going in much deep over there, but there is a gap, and there are some chemical released over there which we are called as chemical messengers. These are called as neurotransmitters. Now here are some fun facts about neurons. So these are there are many neurons in a human body as star in a Milky Way galaxy. Can you imagine there are as many neutrons in a human brain as stars in Milky Way galaxy? In whole galaxy, you can imagine the number of stars over there. And that much number of neurons are present in a single human brain. So how cool and how big number is it is. Second, the number of ways information travels in the human brain is greater than the number of stars in the universe. So in whole universe, there are, if you can consider the number of stars in whole universe, it is such a big number that we cannot at least count up till now, and in the observable universe at least. So the number of ways information travels in human brain is greater than those number of stars present in the universe. You can imagine how many times the message can be sent, or in what percentage, or in what times the message is sent in the human brain. Now, the rate of neuron growth during fetal development equals 250,000 neurons per minute. So, at the time when it's at a very early stage of your birth, the rate of neuron growth during fetal development is 250,000 neurons per minute. So how cool is that? That how many number? It's very such a big number, and it's developed in a minute only. It's very big. Then we lose neurons as we age, starting at around 20 years old in human. 1 on 10 of our neurons are gone by the time when we turn 75. Now, as we age, our brain shrinks by about 1 to 2 gram every year due to the loss of neurons. So these are some facts about it. Now, we have a think time. So here's a question. What if our body have no nerve cells? Hmm. Now, what do you know about nerve cells right now? And it transmit all the signals and everything from sensory to everything we can possibly think about. So, what would happen if that was not there? Let us see. So, as there are no nerve cells in the body, there will be no any communication between the brain and other parts of the body, which will result in failure in brain functioning. So we might not be able to move from one end to another, or we can say from one spot to another spot, because we are not be able to sense anything. Imagine if there was no nerve cells in there, and imagine we can see we are watching something, but the image formed is not reaching towards the brain because of missing nerve cells. So The brain cannot imagine those things, and brain cannot process the things accordingly, so we would not be able to see those. So it's a vital thing which we are supposed to have with us. So, and stroke is one of the example of the same condition, with communication between the nerve cells break down. That's why we hear that some person have got stroke. So this is the basic reason for that. Stroke is an example of condition when communication between the nerve cells break down. Uh, Now, if you have any questions, you can just put down in the comments below. I will try to answer them. Thank you for watching.